This video is designed to introduce you to your next major writing assignment, which discusses the narrative power of documentary photography. The goal of this assignment is to understand the role of photography in the public understanding of the anti-slavery movement and the Civil War, to analyze how photography could be used to promote a political argument, to analyze how photographers used stylistic strategies to communicate the narratives of their documentary photography, and to develop a thesis that incorporates visual and textual analysis. The resources for this essay are primarily from this week, week 7. You will be using a blog post from the Library of Congress about Frederick Douglass's portraits and the power of pictures. You should be choosing your quote from there. I've got links to the Metropolitan Museum of Art for the Douglass photograph, and then there are 2 Smart History readings on Timothy O'Sullivan. However, I recommend returning to week 6 to our discussion of Fenton's Valley of the Shadow of Death, because we thought a lot there about how photographers use their artistic skills to communicate a narrative, and we asked whether this undermines the documentary nature of these images. The question that you're writing about this week is as follows. How did the photographs shape the public perception of the Civil War and the abolitionist movement that preceded it? Using the 1855 daguerreotype of Frederick Douglass, a quote from Douglass's 1861 lecture on pictures, and Timothy O'Sullivan's Harvest of Death as examples, write an essay in which you consider how the stylistic strategies of these photographs communicated the narratives of the historical events. So these are your 2 visual examples. On the left, a daguerreotype portrait of Douglass that's at the Met Museum, and then on the right, Timothy O'Sullivan's Harvest of Death. There are examples of this from the Met Museum as well because it appeared in Alexander Gardner's photographic sketchbook of the war. In your introduction, I want you to summarize the role of photography in communicating historical events to the public during the 1860s. You should be making an argument here about how Douglass's portrait and O'Sullivan's Harvest of Death participate in the national debate surrounding the anti-slavery movement and the Civil War. Your thesis statement should describe how both Douglass and O'Sullivan used stylistic strategies to communicate the narratives of their photographs. So for the Frederick Douglass portrait, we don't know the photographer, but we do know that Douglass himself played an active role in shaping his public portraiture. So I want you to use this daguerreotype as your example for this paragraph. You should closely describe it and how it communicates both his authority and his personality. And this is where I want you to have a quote from his lectures on pictures. You will find that in the Library of Congress blog post I have linked within the module. Your topic sentence for this paragraph should include specific visual analysis of how Douglass's photographs support his abolitionist goals. Your next paragraph is going to discuss Timothy O'Sullivan's Harvest of Death. You should be including a close description of his stylistic strategies, but also the context for the production. I want you to consider whether O'Sullivan's practice of moving around the figures to stage his scenes complicates the documentary quality of the images. Your topic sentence should make an argument about how O'Sullivan used stylistic strategies to communicate the narrative of the Gettysburg battlefield. And then your conclusion paragraph is just going to restate those major points. So the grading practices here are the same as the last 2 essays you wrote. It's going to be about 500 to 700 words. I recommend returning to the first major writing assignment explanation video to minute 440 for more information about how to write these essays and exactly how I grade them. And as always, please do write to me if you have any questions or concerns. I'm very happy to meet with you over the phone or Zoom to talk about your essay preparations.